This is the 3D VIEW-MASTER tale Bednobs and Broomsticks by Walt Disney. VIEW-MASTER Reel 1, Picture 1. With a cloud of yellow smoke pouring from its ost, the old motorcycle raggedy banged down on English country lane and stopped in front of a lonely cottage overlooking the sea. Miss Eglantine Price glanced at the yellow smoke. "Sulphur and tea," she explained to the three children who huddled in the sidecar. "I make my own petrol, you know. Well, here we are. This is my house. I live here alone. Since you have been evacuated from London with the other refugee children, you shall stay with me until the Nazi Blitz is over." She dismounted and lifted a long package from the sidecar. "What did you say your name was?" "Rawlins, Mum," said the girl. "I'm Carrie. My older brother is Charlie, and Paul here is 6 years old." Picture 2. That night, after the children were in bed, Miss Price took the long package from a closet and tiptoed to a wing of the house which was her workshop. Eagerly she tore at the package, unwrapping a broom. 2 sheets of paper fluttered out, and she picked up one of them and read, "Dear Miss Price, with this shipment, the Emilius Brown Correspondence College of Witchcraft commends you on your progress. You may now call yourself an apprentice witch." She hugged the broom fervently, then picked up the other paper, which was a sheet of instructions. "Take an easy, graceful position on the broom." She did. "Repeat the basic formula: Lakipo, Nicrif, Strumpet, Leech." As she recited the words, the broom, with Miss Price aboard, shot suddenly out the open window. The children, awakened by the commotion, rushed to their bedroom window. "Cor blimey!" exclaimed Charlie. "It's Miss Price. She's a witch." "Oh, she's falling!" cried Carrie, as Miss Price and the broom spiraled downward into a clump of bushes. Picture 3. Next morning, Miss Price, who was unhurt, found that the children knew her secret and decided to take them into her confidence. "I need your help," she revealed. "There's an experiment which I must try. It's very important. I have received word from Professor Emilius Brown, my witchcraft teacher, that his school has closed, and I had only one more lesson to go. I must have that final lesson." She led them to her secret workshop. "Now, first of all, I need something you can twist." Paul dug into his pockets and pulled out a brass knob. "It come from the bed in our room." He handed it to her. She set it on the table before them and recited, "Hellebore, henbane, aconite." The knob glowed with pink light. "Now we can use this knob with the traveling spell," said Miss Price. "We replaced the knob on the bed upstairs. Come quickly, and I'll show you what we'll do." Picture 4. Dressed for a windy trip, at Miss Price's insistence, the children joined her on the bed. Paul tapped the bed knob, then twisted it a quarter turn to the left, and it glowed. "Now, Miss Price," told Paul, "the bed will take us where we want to go." tell it to take us to Professor Emilius Brown, Correspondence College of Witchcraft, London. The bedroom vanished around them, and suddenly they were flying through the air. Below, the English landscape whizzed by in a blur. Then the city of London was beneath them, and the bed landed on a quiet London back street. Picture 6. Professor Emilius Brown, a merry, roguish fellow, lived in a deserted London townhouse. He had simply moved into it, finding it empty after its owners had left, because an unexploded 1,500-pound German bomb lay half buried in the front yard. Emilius lived by his wits, and today he had set up his traveling bazaar in the street. Gather around, ladies and gentlemen, he called. Professor Brown will devour, amuse and amaze you. Miss Price marched up to him sternly. Professor Brown, I am Eglantine Price, one of your pupils. I was shocked when you closed the college. I must have that last lesson on substitutionary locomotion. Madam, I got the words for my spells out of an old book, said Emilius. The book is at my townhouse. Very well, she replied. We will all go there together on our bed, which works by your traveling spell. Picture 7. At the townhouse, Emilius took Miss Price into the library, while the children went to the nursery. There, among the toys, Paul found a crumpled linen child's book, The Lost Isle of Nabumbu. Charlie and Carrie came to look curiously over Paul's shoulder. Ain't no such place, scoffed Charlie. Is too such a place, insisted Paul. Look, there's pictures of lions and crocodiles wearing clothes. VIEW-MASTER Reel 2. Picture 1. Mr. Brown, scolded Miss Price. I did not come here to flirt with you. She levelled her finger at him and intoned. Filigree, apogee, pedigree, perigee. He vanished, and in his place appeared a white rabbit. Once and for all, she demanded, where is the book? The rabbit hopped off the table, ran to a bookshelf, and pulled out a battered old manuscript book. As the book tumbled to the floor, the rabbit became Emilius again. I can only make that spell last a short time, she complained. It isn't one of your best spells. Picture 2. Awed, Miss Price scanned the pages of the ancient book. Yes, the spells of Astaroth. I've heard of it. She came to the final page and looked up, disappointed. The last pages on substitutionary locomotion are missing. She read aloud. Substitutionary locomotion, the art of causing objects to take on a life force of their own. The spell which creates this force is 5 mystic words. These words are... And that's the last page of the manuscript. Where is the remainder of the manuscript, Mr. Brown? Don't know, but if it still exists, there's only one place to find it. Portobello Road. Picture 3. The bed took them to Portobello Road, a street full of second-hand and curio shops of all descriptions. Pushing the bed along the street, they finally came to a grubby little bookshop. The bookman, an aged man with an evil face, greeted them suspiciously. His eyes glittered when he saw the manuscript in Miss Price's hand. "I have the other half," he said, "and I've been looking for the rest for a long time." He produced a tattered manuscript and handed it to her. He took hers and began to read. "The spell which creates this force is 5 mystic words. These words are—" Miss Price completed a sentence from the first page of the other half of the book. "Engraved on the diamond star that was worn by the sorcerer Astaroth." There was a picture of the ancient sorcerer wearing a pendant about his neck, a diamond set in a star. Around the edge were words too small to read. "Astaroth kept animals in cages," said the bookman, "and searched for spells to make them more like humans. The legend is that finally the animals rebelled, killed Astaroth, stole his diamond star and his magic powers, found a ship and sailed away to a tropical island, the lost Isle of Nabumbu." "That's the island in my book," shouted Paul excitedly. "Paul," said Miss Price, "tell the bed to take us there." Picture 4. In a blue tropical sea, they saw a tiny island, and the bed dropped into a lagoon where fishes spoke, sang and danced. The island they found was inhabited by animals who wore clothes and considered themselves superior to humans. The king of the island was a lion with a terrible temper. He loved to play soccer, and on the day they arrived he was in a frightful rage because the Royal Cup soccer match had been postponed for lack of a referee. "I'm a soccer expert," said Emilius. "May I help?" Picture 5. The king's angry roars died down when he learned that Emilius had volunteered. Emilius was given a referee's uniform with a whistle hanging around his neck by a thong. Before the game began, Emilius rejoined Miss Price briefly and pointed silently to the king. From the lion's neck hung a pendant, just like the picture in the old manuscript. "The Star of Astaroth," whispered Miss Price. "I'm going to get that pendant for you," Emilius vowed. "I'll switch it for this whistle when he isn't looking." What a soccer game! The players were all animals. The king's team, the Yellows, was opposed by the Blues. The Yellows played an ugly, rough, cheating game. Finally, a rhinoceros on the yellow team punctured the ball with his horn, and the king blew the ball into the Blues' goal. "Game's over! I win!" he shouted. He walked off the field jubilantly, arm in arm with the shifty Emilius. Picture 7. As the king's team celebrated their victory, Miss Price noticed that, instead of the pendant, the king now wore the referee's whistle on its thong. She looked at Emilius, who smiled, opened his hand and showed her the pendant. "Quickly, Miss Price, Emilius," and the children hurried back to the bed. "Paul, tell the bed to take us home." Safely there, Miss Price was impatient to try the spell of substitutionary locomotion. But, to her great disappointment, the magic pendant had mysteriously vanished. "If only I could remember the words," she agonized. "Easy," spoke up Paul. There, in my Nabumbu book, Triguna mecuid, tricorum sadiste. VIEW-MASTER Reel 3, Picture 1. Elated, they went into Miss Bryce's workshop. She asked Emilius to take off his shoes, and they all began chanting the magic words. Triguna, meguides, tricorum, satiste. The shoes twitched, then began to walk. And this was only the beginning. Through the open door came an uncanny parade. Miss Bryce's nightgown, her hat, her stockings, a dress, and Charlie's Sunday pants. Picture 2. It was night, and Emilius had left. A German submarine had crept into the bay below the house, and a battalion of Nazi commandos had landed. Without warning, they had crashed into the house, and now Colonel Heller, the commander, was in charge, seated at one of Miss Bryce's table. "We have work to do, Fraulein," he told Miss Bryce. "We must send all of you where you will not be in the way." The next thing Miss Bryce and the children knew, they were locked up in the ancient castle of the village. It was now a museum, full of medieval armor and weaponry. Emilius, learning of their plight, managed to slip into the castle by changing himself temporarily into a rabbit and rejoined his friends just as Charlie was saying, "How about that spell where you make things move about? This blinking place is full of military equipment, even if it is old. Let's send it out to fight the cherries." Miss Bryce walked into the hall of the castle. Before her were banners, weapons, armor, trappings, and trumpets. She raised her hands and intoned the words of the spell. Triguna, mecuids, tricorium, sadiste. A row of battle trumpets along the wall slowly rose to a horizontal position and softly blew, "Assembly." A line of regimental flags began to move, and along the musty hall there was the clanking and creaking of rusty armor. Picture 3. Carrie came in with an old broom and handed it to Miss Bryce. "Found this here in the castle. Could you use it?" Drumsticks were beating without human hands to hold them. Empty armor, crowned by empty helmets, marched to the castle entrance, pushed open the door, and poured out into the night. Miss Bryce, riding the broom and wearing a World War I helmet, flew out to lead her ghostly battalion. Picture 4. The German invaders heard strange sounds and stared in utter disbelief. Across the misty moor, in the shadowy moonlight, approached the most incredible army that ever trod English soil. Led by a procession of ancient battle flags were knights in armor, some riding ghost horses, pikemen, archers, halberdiers, all invisible, but wearing armor and wielding weapons that were very real. Picture 5. Colonel Heller, shaking off his stupefaction and fear, roared an order to his machine gun crew. "Open fire!" The Germans fired at the advancing horde. The bullets stitched across the fronts of the breastplates and coats of mail, leaving a visible row of bullet holes. Still the medieval host marched closer. The Nazis opened a barrage of fire all along the line. Bullets ricocheted from ancient helmets, but the unearthly men-at-arms, a weird and terrifying lot, came on with the inevitability of doom. Picture 6. A German soldier, swinging his rifle, knocked the armored head of one approaching figure. Emilius, watching from behind a stone wall, caught the flying helmet and threw it back. The headless knight caught it and put it back on. A Nazi machine gunner, firing at Miss Price on her broom, failed to see another headless figure approaching. The spectral warrior wielded a huge battle axe and cut the machine gun in two. Picture 7. It was the following day. The Germans had retreated in disarray, but first had blown up a cache of weapons, and along with it Miss Price's workshop. Their magic gone, the armor and ancient weapons lay strewn about the moor. Emilius, who now realized that he was in love with Miss Price, had determined to give up his life of sham. He had volunteered as an army private and was leaving for duty. At Miss Price's front door, he kissed her goodbye. He hugged the children and promised, "I'll be back before you grow an inch taller." Then he was gone. "No more magic," lamented Charlie. "No more fun. Still got this angel?" "Ain't I?" said Paul stoutly. He took from his pocket a shiny brass bedknob.